Alright, hear me out. I think that the Minecraft mob vote is actually pretty cool. Honestly, giving the community a choice to pick what mob they want is a really cool idea. However, these mob votes bring a lot of discourse, mainly because people don't get the mob that they voted for. Yeah, the community at least gets to pick a mob, but that's only one of the 3 options they give. What about the other 2 mobs? There's tons of different mobs that have lost that the community really loved. For example, in the 2021 mob vote, I loved the Copper Golem. These mob votes have caused a lot of discourse over the years. It got so bad that Mojang themselves had to come out and make a statement that,
"Don't feel too bad for the penguin. Remember, our little frog friends didn't win the vote either, but they still managed to hop their way into the game."
Now that's cool and all, but I kind of want to add them right now. So in this video, I'm gonna download a mod that adds almost every single mob that's lost the mob vote into Minecraft. I say almost because this mod doesn't have the barnacle, unfortunately, and it doesn't have penguins either. So yeah, join me at looking at these mobs. First, we're gonna look at the 2017 mob vote, starting off with the Great Hunger, otherwise known as the Mauler. The Mauler is a tiny little neutral mob that spawns in the savanna, badlands, and desert biomes. Depending on which biome the Mauler spawns in, that is what color it has. This allows it to camouflage seamlessly into the world around it. Now, the Mauler is a very unique mob. Its main ability is to store experience points. This is done by right-clicking an enchanted book on the Mauler. The more books you give, the more experience he accumulates. After, right-click the Mauler with an empty glass bottle and it'll give you bottles of enchanting. The Maulers also hunt chickens, rabbits, frogs, baby zombies, and small slimes. If you attack the Mauler, it'll also start being hostile to you. So yeah, that's it for the Mauler. Next is Mob D from the 2017 mob vote, the Wildfire. The Wildfire is just a blaze, but with 4 shields around it. This mob has 2 different attacks. It has a debris charge and a ground shaking shockwave. This mob honestly feels somewhat like a mini boss. Now, you can only find this mob in a citadel. The citadel structure is basically just an arena for this mob. The Wildfire drops Wildfire Crown fragments. Collect 5 of them to make the Wildfire Crown. The Wildfire Crown gives the player 1 armor point, 1 armor toughness points, and 1 knockback resistance point. It also gives the player fire resistance for 8 seconds every time the player is on fire. The Wildfires are a really cool addition to this game, and I'm surprised they never added them. Next, we're gonna go to the 2020 mob vote, starting with the Moo Bloom. The Moo Bloom is a colorful cow covered with flowers. You can find them in flower forests. Moo Blooms just drop leather and raw beef, but if you shear a Moo Bloom, it'll drop 5 buttercups. After shearing the Moo Bloom, it'll turn into a normal cow. Buttercups are just a unique type of flower that you can only get from the Moo Bloom. It can be used as dye, and it can also be planted on the ground. The Moo Bloom was a really popular mob, and people were surprised that it didn't win. Next, we have the Iceologer. The Iceologer spawns in a cabin. These cabins spawn in anywhere that has snow. The Iceologer is a hostile mob. The Iceologer's unique ability is that it summons an ice chunk right above the player and drops it. It's a pretty unique mob, but I'm honestly not too shocked that they didn't add it. Now, when you kill an Iceologer, they'll drop a Totem of Freezing. When the Totem of Freezing is activated, it'll freeze and slow enemies within a close radius. Then, it'll grant the player 10 seconds of speed. This only activates when the player is under half health. Now, that's all of the mobs for the 2020 mob vote, which somehow lost to the Glow Squid, which honestly does nothing. Now, moving on to the 2021 mob vote. Starting off with the Copper Golem. The Copper Golem is a passive mob, but honestly it's pretty useless. All it does is press copper buttons. That's literally it. Another cool thing about them is that they oxidize, so they change color. Copper Golems, as you guessed, drop copper ingots. Honestly, they just wander around, just chill, you know? They're pretty useless, but I just really like the idea of having another golem in the game. Next, we have the Glare, which spawns in the Lush Cave biome. The Glare is a flying mob that will go to the darkest points in the cave. Glares have a pretty unique ability. An untamed Glare will try to avoid dark areas, but if you tame a Glare using glow berries, it'll take you to the darkest areas and will make a grumpy noise knowing that mobs will spawn there. It's a pretty simple mob, but honestly, it's a little more useful than the Copper Golem. I'm honestly not too surprised why they didn't add this one too. The Lay That One is definitely the best mob of that year. Finally, we have the 2022 mob vote, starting with the Rascal. Rascals can only spawn in mineshafts. When the player gets close enough, it'll run away 3 times, and if you find it all 3 times, it'll reward you with a bundle. Honestly, this mob is really useless, and I'm pretty glad that they didn't add it, but I really like the design. Now, the final mob of the 2022 mob vote is the Tough Golem. The Tough Golem is more like an item than a mob. You can spawn a Tough Golem by putting Tough as a bottom block, any wool as the middle block, and then placing a carved pumpkin as a top block. You can also find them in Stronghold libraries. Tough Golems walk around and can also attract different mobs. A Tough Golem can also hold build and display any item you give it. You can stick it in one place by placing it with a honeycomb. And yeah, that's about it for all the forgotten mobs. There are 3 that we missed, but this mod doesn't have all of them. Hopefully it gets updated in the future, and if it does, we'll definitely make sure to cover it. So that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching everything, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.